If you enjoy videos like this, subscribe to the channel before the video starts. HOA Karen let her son call 911 after I secured my pool. Huge mistake. It was a quiet afternoon in a clean, peaceful neighborhood. The kind of place where lawns were always green. Cars were parked in straight lines. And everyone smiled but watched each other closely. In this neighborhood, rules mattered more than people. And no one loved rules more than Karen. Karen was part of the HOA. She did not just follow rules. She enforced them. She walked the streets every day. Clipboard in hand. Eyes sharp like a hawk. She watched trash cans. She watched fences. She watched people. And that day, she was watching one house very closely. Across the street lived a man named Mark. Mark was quiet. He worked long hours. He kept to himself. Recently, Mark had finished building a pool in his backyard. It was not a small pool. It was clean, modern, and beautiful. But to Karen, it was a problem. A big problem. Karen stood near her window, arms crossed, staring at the tall fence around Mark's yard. She did not like that fence. Not because it was unsafe. Not because it broke rules. But because she did not approve of it. Mark knew the HOA rules very well. Before building the pool, he checked everything. He read every page. He asked the city for permits. He followed every safety law. The pool had a strong metal fence, a locked gate, warning signs, safety covers. Mark did not want trouble. He just wanted peace. But peace was something Karen never allowed. Every morning, Karen walked past Mark's house. She slowed down near the fence. She looked through the bars. She shook her head. "This is dangerous," she whispered to herself. One afternoon, Karen stopped in front of the fence. Her teenage son stood beside her. He looked uncomfortable. "Mom," he said quietly. "Let's go." But Karen did not move. She pointed at the pool. "Do you see that?" she asked. Her son nodded. "It's a risk," Karen said. "Children could fall in." Her son looked confused. "But Mom," he said, "there's a fence. And a lock." Karen turned to him slowly. Her eyes were cold. "Rules are rules," she replied. That evening, Mark was cleaning the pool. The water was calm. The sun was setting. For the first time in weeks, he felt relaxed. Then he heard a voice. "Excuse me." Mark turned around. Karen was standing outside the fence. She smiled. But it was not a friendly smile. "You need to open that gate," Karen said. Mark frowned. "Why?" he asked. "I need to inspect the pool," she replied. Mark stayed calm. "I'm sorry," he said. "You can't enter. HOA inspection needs notice." Karen's smile disappeared. "I'm HOA," she said sharply. "I don't need permission." Mark shook his head. "Everything here is legal," he said. "I followed all the rules." Karen stepped closer to the fence. "This pool is unsafe," she said loudly. "It puts children at risk." Mark sighed. "There are no children here," he said. "And the gate is locked." Karen stared at him. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then Karen laughed. A slow, cold laugh. "We'll see about that," she said. She turned and walked away. Mark watched her leave. Something felt wrong. That night, Karen stood in her kitchen. Her son sat at the table. She was angry. "She thinks she can ignore me," Karen said. "She thinks rules don't apply to her." Her son looked up. "Mom, he didn't do anything wrong," he said. Karen slammed her hand on the table. "He built a dangerous pool," she snapped. Her son swallowed. "What do you want to do?" he asked. Karen picked up her phone. A smile slowly spread across her face. "If he won't listen," she said, "we'll make him listen." She handed the phone to her son. "Call 911, she said. Her son froze. "Mom, are you sure?" he asked. "Yes," Karen replied. "Tell them the pool is unsafe. Tell them children are in danger." Her son's hands shook. "But that's not true," he whispered. Karen leaned closer. "Do it," she said. Outside, Mark was sitting in his living room. He heard sirens in the distance. At first, he ignored them. Then they got closer. Much closer. The sound stopped right outside his house. Red and blue lights flashed through his window. Mark stood up slowly. His heart began to race. He looked outside. 2 police cars were parked in front of his home. Neighbors came out of their houses. Doors opened. Curtains moved. Karen stood on her porch. Her arms were crossed. She looked satisfied. Mark took a deep breath. He had no idea what was about to happen. But one thing was clear. This call would change everything. And Karen had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The next morning, Mark woke up early. He did not sleep well. The sound of police sirens from last night was still in his mind. He stood near his window and looked outside. Karen's house was quiet. Too quiet. Mark knew one thing. This was not over. Mark was not a careless man. He believed in rules. In fact, before building the pool, he had done something most people never do. He studied the rule book. Every page. Every line. Every small detail. The HOA rules were thick and confusing. But Mark read them again and again. He highlighted important parts. He made notes. He even spoke to the city office. And every time, he got the same answer. Backhand index pointing right, your pool follows the law. That was why Mark stayed calm. He knew something Karen did not. Karen loved rules. But she never truly understood them. She used rules like weapons. Not for safety. Not for order. But for control. That morning, Karen stood in her driveway. She watched Mark leave for work. She smiled. She believed fear had won. She believed police had scared him. Inside her house, her son sat silently. He felt sick. "Mom," he said softly. "The police last night, they didn't say anything was wrong." Karen waved her hand. "They didn't look properly," she replied. "They will." Her son looked down. He knew the truth. But Karen did not care. Karen opened her laptop. She logged into the HOA system. She searched for pool violations. Nothing. No warning. No complaint. Her smile faded. "That can't be right," she said. She searched again. Still nothing. Anger filled her face. "If the system won't work," she muttered, "I'll make it work." By afternoon, Karen walked to Mark's house again. She carried papers in her hand. This time, she did not knock. She walked straight to the fence. She took pictures. She zoomed in. She tried to find anything wrong. But the fence was strong. The lock was closed. The signs were clear. She felt embarrassed. And embarrassed people become dangerous. Just then, Mark returned home. He saw Karen near his fence. "Can I help you?" he asked calmly. Karen turned fast. "You're still breaking rules," she said. Mark raised an eyebrow. "Which rule?" he asked. Karen froze. She did not answer. "You know," Mark continued, "false police calls are serious." Karen's eyes widened. "I was protecting children," she said loudly. "There are no children here," Mark replied. "And you know that." Karen stepped closer. "You think you're smart," she hissed. "But HOA always wins." Mark looked straight at her. "No," he said. "Truth wins." Karen laughed. But inside, she felt something new. Fear. That night, Karen could not sleep. Her phone buzzed. An email from the HOA board. Subject line: Urgent, police report inquiry. Her heart skipped. She opened it. The board wanted details. Why police were called. Who made the call? What rule was broken? Karen's hands shook. For the first time, she realized something. She was no longer in control. And worse, people were starting to look at her. Across the street, Mark sat peacefully. He had prepared for this. Documents ready. Photos saved. Emails printed. Karen thought she trapped him. But the truth was simple. She never read the rules. And soon, everyone would know. The police left, but the damage stayed. By the next day, the whole street felt different. People were not smiling anymore. They were watching. Mark felt it the moment he stepped outside. Curtains moved. Doors opened slowly. Whispers followed him. But one house felt very loud without a sound. Karen's house. She stayed inside all morning. Her car did not move. Her blinds stayed shut. Inside, Karen was pacing. Back and forth. Back and forth. Her son sat on the couch, staring at the floor. He had not slept. "Mom," he said quietly. "What if we're in trouble?" Karen stopped walking. She turned slowly. "Trouble?" she said. "No. We did the right thing." But her voice was not strong. It was shaking. She picked up her phone and checked messages. Nothing. No support. No praise. Only silence. Karen hated silence. Silence meant no control. Across the street, Mark was calm. He had lived with pressure before. He worked in a job where mistakes mattered. This situation felt familiar. He opened a folder on his desk. Inside were documents. Pool permit. Safety approval. HOA emails. He did not prepare them last night. He prepared them weeks ago. Because he knew Karen. Mark remembered the day Karen first spoke to him. She was smiling then too. That same fake smile. "You'll need approval for that pool," she had said. "I already have it," Mark replied. Her smile broke that day. And she never forgave him. Now, Karen's phone rang. She jumped. It was the HOA board president. Karen answered fast. "Yes," she said. The voice on the other side was calm. Too calm. "We need to talk about the police call," the man said. Karen's heart dropped. "I was protecting the neighborhood," she replied quickly. "There was no emergency," the voice said. Karen stayed quiet. "We received a report," the man continued. "It says the pool was secured." Karen felt her throat go dry. "That can't be right," she said. "It is," he replied. "And there's more." Karen gripped the phone. Her son looked up. The man's voice continued. "The police noted who made the call." Karen's eyes moved to her son. Her hands started to shake. "That was a mistake," she said softly. "No," the voice replied. "False emergency calls are serious." The call ended. Karen sat down slowly. Her power was slipping. Outside, Mark's doorbell rang. He opened the door. 2 officers stood there. Not aggressive. Not angry. Professional. "Sir," one officer said. "We just need to confirm a few things." Mark nodded. He invited them in. He showed documents. He showed photos. He showed permits. Everything was clear. One officer smiled slightly. "You did everything right," he said. Mark felt relief. Then the officer added something unexpected. "You're not in trouble," he said. "But someone else might be." Across the street, Karen watched through her window. She saw the officers leave Mark's house. They did not give a warning. They did not take notes. They shook his hand. Her stomach turned. For the first time, Karen understood. This was not about rules anymore. This was about consequences. That evening, Karen's son finally spoke. "Mom," he said. "I don't want to lie again." Karen did not answer. She was staring at an email on her screen. Subject line: Official HOA review, mandatory attendance. The meeting was scheduled. Neighbors would be there. The board would be there. And the truth would be public? Karen closed her laptop. She had tried to control the story. But the story had changed. And now, it was moving without her. The HOA meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening. For most people, HOA meetings were boring. For Karen, this one felt dangerous. She arrived early. Too early. She chose a seat in the front row. She placed her papers neatly on the table. She wanted to look confident. But her hands were shaking. Around her, neighbors walked in slowly. Some nodded at her. Most did not. They whispered. They watched. Karen felt their eyes. Across the room, Mark walked in. Calm. Quiet. Prepared. He carried a small folder. He sat near the back. He did not look at Karen. That bothered her more than anything. The meeting started. The HOA president cleared his throat. "Thank you for coming," he said. Then he looked at Karen. "We are here to discuss a police call," he continued. The room went silent. Karen straightened her back. "This is about safety," she said quickly. The president raised his hand. "Please," he said. "Let's follow order." Karen did not like order unless she controlled it. The president turned to Mark. "Sir," he said. "Can you explain your pool setup?" Mark stood up. He did not rush. He spoke slowly. "The pool is fenced," he said. "The gate is locked. All permits are approved." He placed documents on the table. Photos followed. Everything was clear. The board members nodded. Karen's turn came next. She stood up fast. "That pool is a danger," she said loudly. "Children could climb the fence." A board member asked calmly, "Have any children tried?" Karen paused. "No," she said. "Any complaints before the police call?" "No." "Any violations?" "No." Each question cut deeper. Karen felt heat in her face. Then the president spoke again. "We also reviewed the police report," he said. Karen swallowed. "The report states there was no emergency." Murmurs filled the room. Karen's son, sitting in the back, looked down. "The report also states," the president continued, "that the call was made by a minor." Silence. Karen's breath stopped. All eyes turned to her. "This meeting," the president said, "is now about misuse of authority." Karen's voice cracked. "I was protecting the community," she said. Mark finally spoke. "With respect," he said. "You created fear, not safety." The board discussed quietly. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the decision came. Karen would be fined. Her HOA roll would be reviewed. A warning would be placed on record. Karen sat down slowly. Her power was gone. Her image was broken. As people left, no one spoke to her. Mark walked past. He paused. He looked at her once. And said nothing. That silence was louder than any words. Karen stayed seated. For the first time, she had no rules to hide behind. And she knew. This was not the end. The neighborhood returned to normal. At least, it looked normal. Cars moved. Kids played. Lawns were cut. But Karen felt different. She felt small. For years, she believed the HOA badge gave her power. Now, that badge felt heavy. And useless. 2 days after the meeting, a white envelope arrived. No HOA logo. No friendly words. Just official print. Karen opened it slowly. Her heart dropped. It was from the city. Inside was a notice. False emergency call review. Her breath became shallow. She sat down at the kitchen table. Her son stood nearby. "Mom," he said softly. "Is this because of me?" Karen looked at him. For the first time, she had no answer. She remembered the officer's face. Not angry. Not loud. Just disappointed. That hurt more than yelling. The letter explained everything. Using 911 without an emergency was not a small mistake. It wasted time. It put others at risk. Karen felt her stomach turn. She always believed she was right. But now, the system she trusted was turning away from her. Later that day, a police officer knocked. Not with sirens. Not with lights. Just a knock. Karen opened the door. The officer spoke calmly. "We're not here to arrest you," he said. "We're here to explain consequences." Karen nodded slowly. The officer explained the fine. The warning. The record. Then he said something she did not expect. "Next time," he said, "we won't be this kind." The door closed. Karen leaned against it. Her legs felt weak. Across the street, Mark watched quietly. He felt no joy. Only relief. He never wanted revenge. He wanted peace. That night, Karen sat alone. No emails. No calls. No power. Her phone buzzed once. A message from the HOA board. "You are removed from enforcement duties." Karen stared at the screen. Everything she used to control was gone. And it was because of one call. That should never have been made. Karen thought losing power would hurt. She was wrong. What hurt more was being ignored. A week passed. Then another. The neighborhood kept moving. But Karen felt invisible. She walked outside one morning. No greetings. No smiles. No fear. People who once listened to her now walked past like she was air. At the mailbox, 2 neighbors laughed. Karen said nothing. She waited. They did not stop. They did not look at her. That silence felt louder than shouting. Across the street, Mark was fixing his fence. A neighbor stopped to talk to him. They smiled. They asked about the pool. They praised his patience. Karen watched from her window. Her chest tightened. This was her neighborhood. Or at least, it used to be. Her son came home from school early. "They asked about the police," he said quietly. "Everyone knows now." Karen closed her eyes. The story had spread. Not with drama. Not with shouting. Just with truth. That afternoon, Karen attended her first HOA meeting as a normal resident. No badge. No clipboard. She sat in the back. No one asked her opinion. When she spoke, the room stayed quiet. Then the president continued without her. Karen felt her face burn. She went home early. That night, she heard laughter from outside. Mark was hosting neighbors near the pool. The gate was locked. Music was low. Everything was respectful. Karen stood behind her curtains. For the first time, she saw the truth. The pool was never the problem. She was. Her son stood beside her. "Mom," he said. "Can we just move on?" Karen nodded slowly. The neighborhood had already moved on. Without her. Months passed. The story stopped being news. But the lesson stayed. The neighborhood felt lighter. Rules were still there. But fear was gone. Mark's pool became a normal part of life. Kids waved as they walked by. Neighbors smiled. No drama. No tension. Just peace. Mark never spoke badly about Karen. He never posted online. He never bragged. That silence earned him respect. Karen changed. Not loudly. Not suddenly. She stopped walking the streets. She stopped watching windows. She stopped correcting people. She started listening. One morning, Karen saw Mark outside. He was fixing the gate. For a moment, she walked past. Then she stopped. Her heart beat fast. She turned around. "I'm sorry," she said. 2 words. Simple. Mark looked at her. He nodded. That was enough. No speech. No fight. Just closure. The neighborhood watched quietly. And learned. Power without truth fails. Rules without fairness break. And one bad phone call can change everything.